In the world of modern air combat, air superiority is everything. The nation that controls the skies controls the battlefield below. During the late years of the Cold War, military strategists began imagining a fighter jet so advanced that it could dominate the airspace against any opponent for decades to come. This aircraft would fly faster than its rivals without using afterburners, evade enemy radar systems with revolutionary stealth technology, and carry some of the most advanced sensors ever installed in a combat aircraft. It was meant to be the ultimate air superiority weapon, a fighter so powerful that no enemy pilot would ever want to face it in battle. Billions of dollars were poured into research, design, and testing, and expectations inside the defense community were enormous. But behind the promise of this revolutionary aircraft was a far more complicated story. As development progressed, the project faced unexpected technical problems, massive cost overruns, and increasing political pressure. Critics began questioning whether the program was becoming too expensive, too complex, and too ambitious to succeed. At one point, there were even fears that the entire project could collapse before the aircraft ever became operational. After billions had already been invested, one question began circulating among defense officials and lawmakers alike. Had the military pushed technology too far, too fast? The aircraft at the center of this controversy would eventually become known as the F-22 Raptor, one of the most advanced fighter jets ever developed. Designed to replace older generation fighters and guarantee air dominance for decades, the program aimed to combine stealth, speed, maneuverability, and advanced electronics into a single platform unlike anything that had ever flown before. Engineers envisioned an aircraft capable of detecting enemy threats long before being detected itself, striking targets with precision and disappearing from radar before opponents even realized what had happened. On paper, it sounded like the perfect solution to future air combat. However, transforming that vision into reality proved far more difficult than anyone anticipated. The technology required to build such a machine was incredibly complex, and integrating cutting-edge systems into a single aircraft pushed engineers to the limits of what was possible at the time. Development timelines stretched longer than expected, costs climbed higher with every passing year, and political leaders began debating whether the program was still worth the massive investment. What began as one of the most ambitious aviation projects in history was slowly turning into one of the most controversial. And as the pressure mounted, the fate of the entire program hung in the balance. Long before the aircraft ever took to the skies, the concept behind the F-22 Raptor began during the final years of the Cold War. During this period, military planners in the United States were deeply focused on one critical objective: maintaining complete control of the air in any future conflict. Air superiority had already proven its importance in earlier wars, where the ability to dominate the skies often determined the outcome on the ground. But by the late 20th century, technological competition between major powers had intensified, and new generations of aircraft were beginning to push the limits of what fighter jets could achieve. At the time, many of the United States' most capable aircraft had been designed in the 1970s. Fighters like the F-15 had dominated the skies for decades. But defense planners knew that future adversaries were developing aircraft and air defense systems that could challenge that dominance. If the next generation of fighter aircraft failed to stay ahead of the competition, the balance of power in the air could shift dramatically. The solution, according to military strategists, was to develop a completely new type of fighter, one that would not just improve upon existing designs but redefine the entire concept of air combat. The vision for this new aircraft was ambitious. Engineers were tasked with creating a jet that could fly faster, maneuver more aggressively, and remain invisible to most radar systems. One of the key ideas behind the project was stealth technology, which had already begun to change modern warfare. Instead of relying solely on speed and firepower, stealth aircraft were designed to avoid detection entirely. By shaping the aircraft carefully and using special radar-absorbing materials, engineers hoped to create a fighter that could approach enemy targets without ever appearing on radar screens. But stealth alone was not enough. The aircraft also needed to integrate advanced avionics systems capable of gathering enormous amounts of battlefield information. Pilots would be able to see enemy aircraft, missile threats, and other dangers from far greater distances than ever before. Combined with powerful radar systems and cutting-edge computer processing, the fighter would essentially become a flying information hub, allowing pilots to make faster and more accurate decisions during combat. Another revolutionary feature was something known as supercruise. Traditional fighter jets could reach extremely high speeds, but only by using afterburners. Devices that dramatically increase thrust but also burn large amounts of fuel and make the aircraft easier to detect. The new aircraft would be capable of sustaining supersonic speeds without using afterburners, allowing it to travel faster while remaining more fuel efficient and less visible to enemy sensors. To bring this ambitious vision to life, the U.S. military launched a competitive development program involving several major aerospace companies. Teams of engineers began designing prototypes that could meet the extraordinary requirements set by defense planners. The winning design would ultimately become the aircraft known as the F-22 Raptor. On paper, it promised to be one of the most advanced fighter aircraft ever built, a machine capable of dominating the skies for decades to come. But while the vision looked impressive in theory, transforming it into a real aircraft would soon prove far more difficult than anyone had imagined. From its engines to its radar and flight controls had to push the boundaries of what was technologically possible at the time. One of the greatest challenges involved the aircraft's stealth capabilities. Designing a fighter that could evade radar required extremely precise shaping of the aircraft's surfaces. Even small design changes could dramatically affect how radar waves bounced off the aircraft. Engineers had to carefully test and refine the jet's structure to ensure that it maintained a low radar signature from multiple angles. This process required countless simulations and wind tunnel tests, adding time and complexity to the development schedule. In addition to the aircraft's shape, special radar-absorbing materials had to be applied to the jet's exterior. These coatings were designed to absorb radar signals instead of reflecting them back toward enemy sensors. However, developing and applying these materials created new maintenance challenges. The coatings were sensitive to environmental conditions and required careful handling during both production and routine servicing. This meant that maintaining the aircraft could become more complicated and expensive than initially planned. Another major technical challenge involved the fighter's avionics systems. The aircraft was designed to carry an extraordinary number of electronic systems, including advanced radar, targeting equipment, navigation systems, and communications technology. These systems needed to work together seamlessly, sharing information with each other in real time. Engineers attempted to integrate these components into a unified digital architecture, allowing the pilot to receive a clear and simplified picture of the battlefield. However, integrating such advanced electronics proved extremely difficult. Software systems had to process enormous amounts of information while maintaining reliability during high-speed flight and combat conditions. Early tests revealed numerous software glitches and compatibility issues, forcing engineers to rewrite large portions of the aircraft's operating programs. Each adjustment required additional testing and validation, which further slowed the development process. The aircraft's engines also presented their own set of challenges. The fighter needed powerful engines capable of delivering both high thrust and efficient fuel consumption. These engines had to support the aircraft's supercruise capability, allowing it to maintain supersonic speeds without afterburners. Achieving this balance required highly advanced engineering, as the engines needed to produce extraordinary performance while remaining reliable under extreme conditions. As engineers worked to solve these technical problems, development timelines continued to stretch longer than originally expected. What had once seemed like a straightforward path toward building the world's most advanced fighter jet was slowly turning into a complicated and unpredictable engineering effort. Each breakthrough revealed new obstacles, and every system required additional refinement before the aircraft could move closer to operational readiness. Although progress continued, the growing complexity of the project was beginning to raise serious concerns about its long-term viability. As development of the F-22 Raptor progressed, another problem began to emerge, one that threatened the future of the entire program. The project's cost was rising rapidly, far beyond what many policymakers had originally expected. What began as an ambitious effort to build the world's most advanced fighter aircraft was gradually becoming one of the most expensive military aviation programs ever undertaken. Several factors contributed to the rising costs. The advanced technologies integrated into the aircraft required extensive research and testing. Each new system, from stealth coatings to radar components, had to undergo multiple design revisions before it could meet performance requirements. Every delay added additional development expenses, and the complexity of the aircraft meant that even small changes could have ripple effects across the entire program. As costs increased, the number of aircraft originally planned for production began to shrink. Early proposals envisioned hundreds of fighters entering service, which would spread development costs across a larger fleet. However, as the program became more expensive, lawmakers and defense officials started questioning whether such large numbers were still realistic. Gradually, production estimates were reduced, meaning that each individual aircraft would ultimately cost far more than originally anticipated. This growing price tag sparked intense debate within political and military circles. Some policymakers argued that the aircraft was simply too expensive to justify, especially in a changing global security environment. With the Cold War ending, critics questioned whether such a highly specialized air superiority fighter was still necessary. Others warned that canceling the program could weaken the nation's technological advantage and leave future pilots without the tools needed to dominate modern air combat. Public scrutiny also increased as reports about the aircraft's cost began appearing in news headlines. Defense analysts debated whether the program represented a necessary investment in national security or an example of excessive military spending. The fighter was often described as one of the most expensive aircraft ever developed, further fueling controversy surrounding the project. Despite these criticisms, supporters of the program argued that the aircraft's capabilities justified its cost. They emphasized that the fighter represented a generational leap in aviation technology. By combining stealth, advanced sensors, and unmatched maneuverability, the aircraft would provide a decisive advantage against any potential adversary. Canceling the program, they argued, would risk losing decades of technological progress and leave future air forces at a disadvantage. As political debates intensified, the future of the program became increasingly uncertain. Some lawmakers pushed for reductions or cancellations, while others fought to preserve the aircraft's development. Behind closed doors, defense officials weighed the enormous financial investment against the strategic benefits the aircraft might deliver. The program had reached a critical moment where the success or failure of the entire project would soon be decided.
Despite the mounting technical challenges and financial controversy surrounding the F-22 Raptor, the program eventually reached a turning point. After years of testing, engineering refinements, and political debate, the aircraft finally began demonstrating the extraordinary capabilities that its designers had originally envisioned. What had once seemed like a struggling program slowly started proving that the enormous investment might ultimately be worthwhile. Flight testing played a crucial role in this transformation. As engineers continued refining the aircraft's systems, test pilots began pushing the jet to its limits. These flights evaluated everything from the fighter's maneuverability to its radar performance and electronic systems. Gradually, the aircraft started meeting and, in some cases, exceeding the expectations set by military planners. Its stealth design proved highly effective at reducing radar detection, allowing the jet to approach targets with remarkable levels of concealment. The fighter's supercruise capability also demonstrated a significant advantage over traditional aircraft. By maintaining supersonic speeds without relying on afterburners, the jet could travel faster while conserving fuel and reducing its infrared signature. This capability provided both tactical flexibility and improved efficiency, giving pilots the ability to cover greater distances while remaining difficult for enemy systems to detect. Equally important were the aircraft's advanced sensor systems. The fighter's radar and electronic warfare capabilities allowed it to identify and track enemy aircraft at impressive distances. These sensors fed information directly into the pilot's display systems, providing a detailed picture of the surrounding battlefield. Instead of being overwhelmed by dozens of separate instruments, pilots could rely on integrated systems that simplified decision-making during complex combat situations. As these capabilities became clearer through testing and demonstrations, support for the program gradually strengthened. Military leaders argued that the aircraft represented a crucial step forward in maintaining long-term air superiority. Although the program had faced significant setbacks and cost overruns, the final result appeared capable of delivering unmatched performance in the skies. Ultimately, the fighter entered operational service and became widely regarded as one of the most advanced combat aircraft ever produced. While the program never achieved the original production numbers once envisioned, the aircraft's technological achievements reshaped modern fighter design. Many of its innovations influenced the development of future aircraft and helped establish new standards for stealth, avionics, and integrated combat systems. The journey of the F-22 Raptor serves as a powerful reminder that building revolutionary technology rarely follows a simple path. Behind every groundbreaking machine lies years of experimentation, failure, and persistence. What once appeared to be a project on the verge of collapse ultimately became a symbol of technological ambition, proof that even the most difficult engineering challenges can eventually lead to extraordinary results.
After everything, the delays, the technical failures, the political pressure, and the billions of dollars at risk, the fighter jet program stood at a crossroads. What once looked like a catastrophic mistake slowly transformed into one of the most important technological achievements in modern military aviation. Engineers who were once criticized for impossible deadlines eventually solved problems that many believed had no solution. New software was written, systems were redesigned, and test pilots pushed the aircraft to its limits again and again until it finally proved what it was capable of. What makes this story so fascinating is that it reminds us how close some of the world's most advanced machines come to failure before they succeed. From exploding budgets to malfunctioning systems, the program faced challenges that could have permanently grounded it. Critics called it wasteful. Politicians questioned whether it should even exist. And for a moment, it genuinely looked like the project might collapse entirely, but innovation rarely follows a straight path. Behind every groundbreaking aircraft are years of trial, error, and persistence that the public rarely sees. What started as a nearly failed project eventually evolved into a powerful symbol of technological ambition, an aircraft designed not just for today's battles, but for the wars of the future. And that raises an interesting question. When nations push the limits of technology and spend billions chasing the next generation of air power, how many of these projects are only one step away from failure? Because the jet we talked about today wasn't just a machine, it was a massive gamble. A gamble that could have ended in embarrassment, but instead became a turning point in modern aviation. If you enjoyed breaking down the hidden stories behind the world's most powerful military technologies, make sure to subscribe to Strategic Archive. Here, we explore the secrets, the failures, and the strategies that shape global military power. And the next story might be even more unbelievable than this one.